I feel like the only thing greater than the population of India is the population of students in DPS, which was historians that started this trend about presenting an extremely biased view of history, but packaging it as the unbiased sort of.
I wanted to start the show with a secular pranam. I forgot.
Which was a Muslim man named Ali, जो कि basically placard लेके खड़ा है, and he's talking about how Hindus are bad, Hindu society बड़ी खराब है, और Hindu society में क्या homophobia उसके बारे में बात कर रहा है. मैंने कहा तेरे community में कैसा homophobia तू जानता है? बेटा इंडिया के अलावा कहीं भी अगर तू रहेगा ना सीधे बिल्डिंग पे ले जाएंगे और शिल्पा शेट्टी कर देंगे तेरे साथ. I think Rahul Gandhi may or may not become the prime minister, but I think he's already the greatest philosopher that has ever existed. ऑडियंस भी वहां की मान लो कोई छोटे शहर में आप सौरभ भास्कर को लेके गए, सबसे पहले तो लोगों को पता नहीं कि वो कौन है, राइट? कुणाल कामरा, पीपल डोंट नो हु ही इज, एंड देन लोग उसको राहुल गांधी के साथ देखेंगे, एंड देन दे विल गो एंड सर्च कि है कौन सौरभ भास्कर, देन दे विल फाइंड आउट अबाउट द डम ओपिनियंस ऑफ सौरभ भास्कर, एंड दे विल थिंक कि ये राहुल गांधी इस बेवकूफ लोगों के साथ क्यों घूम रहा है.
एग्जैक्ट. जो बाइडेन की एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी है लेफ्ट मीडिया में जस्ट बिकॉज ट्रम्प के व्यूज ऐसे हैं.
I was just basically saying that, one of the things that I've come to realize over the last few years of doing the show, there's been obviously a lot of trial and error associated with running a YouTube show. When I first started, it was just a question of, okay, press record on the camera and say what you need to say, and hopefully people will listen. And for a long time, nobody was interested in listening. But then slowly, steadily, as I was able to collect my thoughts better, present them better, people showed interest, and slowly the audience grew. And a lot of, I would say, YouTubers that are in the political commentary space, for example, for this niche, for example, they've been very, well, at least the left-leaning ones, I can say, have been very clever in how they presented themselves. They presented themselves as like educators, or we're educating people. We have no biases. I have absolutely no bias of my own. I'm only approaching this from like a completely neutral perspective, which, by the way, being completely neutral about something is bullshit. That never happens. That's a lie. You're never completely neutral about something. So, especially about like politics and cultural issues. So they've been very good at like packaging themselves as like completely neutral commentators and observers, and being able to reach a large audience. So I think, kudos to them. And I think there's something there to learn for even the, the non-left commentary side as well, about how to package your content and how to present your content.
I think that's been the case with the left, not just with this, but with everything in general. They know how to package and promote things very nicely.
Yeah.
Is what I feel. And even with our education system in India, that's the biggest curse that we had, was left controlling our education. Even till now, in so many universities, you have them running the show, basically.
Yeah. I think that's where they learned it from, where it was the historians that started this trend about presenting an extremely biased view of history, but packaging it as the unbiased, sort of completely detached and uncolored way of presenting history, or the version of history that has been taught to us for the last 70 something years. So that's who they learnt it from. And I think it's very important for the non-left commentary side as well to maybe understand that, learn from it. I've come to understand it a little bit better, I think, over the last year or so.
Even the kind of videos that you are making and curating, one thing I've noticed is that it's not just education, it's also humor, wittiness. Yeah. So you can have a laugh about it, but also get to know about things.
Yeah, that was the idea. That was always the idea. That was a very conscious decision on part of the show, because I remember looking at a lot of the commentary content, and I'm not making any comments about the quality of them or the ideological leaning of them, but there are a lot of them that are very self-serious, that take themselves extremely seriously, that present themselves as like I said, educators. I don't see myself as that much of an educator. I see myself like an idiot who's just presenting what he believes to be right. And if you want to listen to that idiot, that's fine. If you think that idiot is making sense, that's fine. But just remember that it's an idiot on a camera. All right. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. And so that's how I've always approached it. Like, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be Deepak Chopra. I'm just trying to be some guy who feels very passionately about certain things. And I just want to tell it to you without taking myself too seriously and hoping that, while you learn something, you have a good time as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's very nice. Also, I wanted to start the show with a secular pranam. I forgot. Where was आपके लिए मतलब एक वो turning point क्या था? Like was it like a video or a reel or what changed your graph of YouTube? Was it a particular video or it's just consistently uploading stuff?
Yeah, it is consistency. It's nothing else but consistency. I think a lot of people are hoping that there's going to be that one video that blows up and that's going to make them successful, but that's not how it works. It's consistency. It's a lot of grinding. It's a lot of videos that will not do well before one video will do well, or before you find a pattern. How I grew was initially there was like 50 views on a video. Then a couple of months later, there was like 150 views on a video, then 1,000. And slowly, by grinding, by constantly putting out content, and more importantly, by making sure you're improving your content delivery, you're improving your writing, you're improving your research, you're improving how you package the video and present it to the audience. All of those things really matter in how the audience perceives you and how you keep the audience's interest as well. So it's consistency and constantly looking to improve. That's what really is what grows a YouTube channel.
Yeah, and also just being, I feel real. Like I've seen your, the kind of videos you do with 2-3 people, and you just look at memes and make fun of things. I mean, that kind of things also really connects with the audience, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so, at least, because we've built a pretty strong community around that podcast as well. And an entire subreddit that's basically, gotten built because of that podcast. We get a lot of great submissions of memes from, around the internet. So, and one of the things that you can say a lot of things about us and the podcast that we do, but that you can say that they have an ideological bias, or ye is taraf lean karte hain, ya is taraf lean karte hain, ye believe karte hain. One thing they cannot say is that there's no honesty. Because we try to be as honest as possible, and we try as much as we can to stick to our first principles. That kuch galat hai to galat hai. It doesn't matter if it's right wing, left wing, up wing, down wing.
Galat hai to galat hai. Sahi baat hai.
Yeah.
So where did your, I'd say, shift of your ideology towards right start? Were you always following Modi, or were you always into this Hindutva? Like, how did it all start? Like for me, it all started in 2014. When I started to know, ये भी एक चीज होती है, इसके इन चीजों के बारे में तो हमें बताया ही नहीं गया, कोई पढ़ाया ही नहीं. फिर मैंने आरएसएस ज्वाइन करी, वहां जाके बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला. बड़ा वियर्ड था, इस सोसाइटी का बच्चा डीपीएस में पढ़ने वाला आरएसएस में जा रहा है.
DPS where? Which DPS?
RK Puram.
Same. I was in DPS RK Puram as well.
What are you saying?
Yeah, DPS RK Puram. I was 2007.
Okay, I was 2015.
So you
are basically my brother's batch. My brother's was in 2007 batch.
Yes, like 2006 to 2009 is when I went to Hindu.
Okay.
Hindu college in DU. So maybe a couple of years after your brother, but basically around the same time.
DPS के बच्चे हर जगह ये जो बात बोली.
हर जगह, yeah. I feel like the only thing greater than the population of India is the population of students in DPS.
Lovely. So I was asking, where did this thing come from?
It came from my family, to be honest, because my family is a very culturally, they're not like overly religious, ki bhai roz mandir jana hai, ye karna hai, wo karna hai, but they're very culturally aware. They're very proud of their cultural heritage, and my father and my mother both always taught me about what our cultural, ideological background is. And I think I've always had that in the back of my mind about my cultural grounding, where I come from, and things like that.
Yeah.
But it really got crystallized in high school and college, because in high school, I remember in DPS, we had teachers that used to tell us like the most absurd stories that never really jived with what my parents used to tell me about our culture,
Yeah.
And I remember one really stood out in my brain, which was, there was a Sikh boy in my class. His name was Harpreet.
Okay.
One time, I think some history teacher like stood up and said, Harpreet, tell me about what's your name? And he said, Harpreet. Oh, Harpreet, you know what that means? And then she proceeded to say, it means a person who loves everybody. That's Harpreet, because Harpreet. But the truth is, that's not what Harpreet means. Harpreet means Hari Preet, somebody who loves Hari, Bhagwan Hari. That's the reality. Yeah. It's Hari Preet has been Punjabified into Harpreet, essentially. So the real word is Harpreet, and a lot of these Sikh names are based around Hari, Krishna, Ram, and things like that. And it is the SGPC and maybe the Sikh orthodoxy that tries very hard to sort of separate Sikh culture completely from Hindu culture, which is impossible, to be honest.
Impossible. Derived from.
कोशिश तो करते ही रहते हैं. And then that history teacher was also saying कि नहीं, it doesn't mean Hari Preet, it means ये तो हर से प्यार करता है, Harpreet. And I told that story to my dad, and he told me what an idiot my history teacher was. And then I was like, okay, maybe everything that my history teacher is telling me is not correct then. Maybe they're not as, all-knowing, all-pervasive as our schools have been telling us. And then as I read more about our history, as I watched more videos or explored more, about our history and our culture, certain things that our history teachers would tell us, certain things that other students would talk about in class, was always just like didn't feel right, because I remember another story that my history teacher told the whole class, was that this destruction of temples, don't believe in this nonsense, class, because you're hearing this in the news, but the thing is that all kings destroyed temples. Hindu kings, Muslim kings, Christian, everybody destroyed temples the same amount. And now we know that for a fact, definitively, that is not the case. That is completely untrue. Idols may have been stolen to take to another temple, but temples were not completely demolished, razed to the grounds in the hundreds and the thousands, the way the Islamic empires did, and that never happened in pre-Islamic times. So things like that. Then I went to Delhi University. I studied in Hindu college, and when I was there, it was the same thing. I would talk to, across the street is the infamous St. Stephen's College, which is the sort of ground zero for Gurgaon ke Jholawala people, rich Jholawalas.
Yeah.
That their parents have a lot of money, but they dress like, they just came from a small town. And so those people used to come and, they would take out their iPhones while they're wearing their kurta, pajama and their jhola, and try to show people that, we're one of the people. Hum to bilkul normal logon ki tarah hain. But then these people would tell me about how India has produced nothing. Everything that has come to India has come from outside. India has a history of being a defeated civilization. Everybody who comes here defeats us and then rules us. And that's our history.
Yeah.
None of that sat right with me, because I knew it's not consistent with the history that I've been reading, that I've grown up on. And so that started the wheels in motion. And then when I moved outside of the US, outside of India, I initially lived in New Zealand for a little bit. Then I lived in the United States. Both countries, it was the same thing, that, this is what India is, caste, and religious discrimination against Muslims. This is all that happens in India. And I was like, who's telling you all this? Kaun sikha raha hai tumko? Like, where are you getting this information from? And so eventually that, like, hearing all these things in the United States and even outside of India, knowing how much misinformation there is out there, that's what finally said, ki acha, let me try and talk to the camera and present a different perspective. and we'll see if people are interested in listening or not. So that's what started the process. Sorry, it was a very long story,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
no, I get your point because some very interesting things you said. First, you said जो हम हमारे बच्चों को सिखाते हैं ना वो बहुत आगे तक जाता है, which
yeah,
I also realized. पर दिक्कत पता है क्या हो रही है? बिकॉज जो हमारी नेक्स्ट जनरेशन है, मेरे को लगता है जो मेरी जनरेशन है वो जो अभी 25-24 इयर्स के हैं, वो फिर भी एक लेवल तक मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं थोड़े ज्यादा समझदार है. जो हमारे बाद की जनरेशन आ रही है ना, व्हेन आई लुक एट माय ब्रदर्स एंड सिस्टर्स और व्हाटएवर द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन, उनके बच्चों को देख के घबरा जाता हूं मैं. क्योंकि उनको हम सिखा तो वो रहे हैं, जो हमें सिखाया गया हम उनको वही आगे सिखा रहे हैं. लेकिन
yeah.
जो सोशल मीडिया है उस पे इतनी मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन और इतना बायस है कि वो ज्यादा टाइम हमारे साथ नहीं, वो ज्यादा टाइम सोशल मीडिया के साथ गुजार रहे हैं. तो वहां से वो डाउनलोड कर रहे हैं, उसी को वो प्रोसेस कर रहे हैं.
Yeah.
And it's actually become a very very big issue. And you had also put up this video. It's basically in India ये अबुल कलाम आजाद के टाइम से शुरू हो गया था. जो
Yeah.
आपने एक वीडियो भी डाली थी वो तभी से ही स्टार्ट हो गया था, for the left government to get
I do think
votes
things are changing. I don't think it's all negative, to be honest, because I think things have changed quite
No.
massively in the last decade.
Now actually, we I'll term it, we as basically are Hindus, मेरे को पहली बार, क्योंकि मैं इससे पहले तो कुछ देखा नहीं था, बट मुझे खुद ये चीज फील हुई 2014 के बाद कि यस, एक कम से कम स्टैंड, एक पावर, एक ग्लोरी वो फील भी होने लग गई है और वो दिखने भी लग गई है.
Yeah.
जो कि अभी तक नहीं दिखती थी. बट फिर भी मुझे लगता है कि लेफ्ट मीडिया से मुझे तो बहुत ही ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम है, क्योंकि छोटी छोटी चीजें, जैसे अभी LGBTQ का दिल्ली में प्राइड चल रही थी.
Yeah.
अब वहां पे वो हिंदूज ही, मतलब
गलत है.
LGBTQ है, हिंदूज कोई होमोफोबिया है,
Yeah.
लेकिन कोई ये नहीं
Did you
देखता.
see? Did you see? There was one that was my favorite part. किसी ने ट्विटर पे शेयर किया था. Some left wing handle shared it, which was a Muslim man named Ali, जो कि basically placard लेके खड़ा है, and he's talking about how Hindus are bad, Hindu society बड़ी खराब है, और हिंदू सोसाइटी में क्या होमोफोबिया, उसके बारे में बात कर रहा है. मैंने कहा तेरे कम्युनिटी में कैसा होमोफोबिया तू जानता है? बेटा, अब इंडिया के अलावा कहीं भी अगर तू रहेगा ना, सीधे बिल्डिंग पे ले जाएंगे और शिल्पा शेट्टी कर देंगे तेरे साथ. क्या बकवास कर रहा है तू भाई?
एग्जैक्टली. तो ये चीजें मुझे लगती है. और एंड व्हेन आई गो, लाइक आई एम एट दैट एज, आई गो आउट क्लबिंग, आई गो आउट विद फ्रेंड्स, वहां पे जाके भी ना ये चीजें देखने में ना, एक महुआ मित्रा का एग्जांपल देता हूं. उन मैडम जी ने अभी पार्लियामेंट में स्पीच दे दी जब चल रही थी सेशन अभी वाला. अब वो स्पीच का किसी ने फैक्ट चेक नहीं करा, किसी ने कुछ नहीं करा. जस्ट अ लेडी in the parliament bashing the government, talking in proper English, is loved so much by the so-called elite who don't even fucking go out to vote.
Yeah.
शेयर पे शेयर चले जा रहे हैं इंस्टाग्राम पे. ओ वाओ वाओ वाओ, हेल क्वीन. अरे भाई जान तो लो वो बोल क्या रही है.
Yeah.
ये जो भीड़ चाल है ना, इसने आधी चीजें बिगाड़ के रखी हुई है.
It's true, but at the same time, I also think it is a very sort of tier 1 city mindset. इस तरह के जो यास क्वीन वाले लोग हैं, it's very tier 1 city. The level to which Hindutva has expanded into tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities is quite unprecedented. It's quite insane how quickly and how strongly Hindutva has taken hold. I mean, that's what I said. If you look at the vote bank of the BJP, vote base of the BJP, it is coming from these smaller cities, which is real India. Like Delhi is not India.
100%.
South Bombay is not India.
Delhi is not real.
Yeah. Like Delhi is not real life. South Bombay is not real life. Like real life is happening in those tier 2, tier 3 cities.
But brother, the issue is, I don't know, there's this channel called Hindu Cafe. I don't know if you know about it. It's run by my brother only, Kaushlesh. He's like my brother. I was having this talk with him yesterday and we discussed one thing. The issue is कि जो social media, ये western culture है ना, ये अभी तक tier 1 में था. ये धीरे धीरे, when I travel to tier 2 cities, ये वहां पे जाना शुरू हो गया because Jio ने हर जगह पे इंटरनेट फैला दिया है। तो
Yeah.
हमें क्या जो मोटिव होना चाहिए ना, वो ये होना चाहिए कि जियो के थ्रू ही जो सही मैसेज है वो टीयर 2 और टीयर 3 तक पहुंचे।
Yeah.
बिकॉज क्या है, एक बार हवा आती है ना तो सबको लगता है कि अरे हम भी अलग तरीके से सोचेंगे, बिकॉज इट्स कूल, यू नो।
Yeah.
उस चीज को बैलेंस आउट करना जरूरी
नहीं,
है।
वो
But
वो
yes,
करना जरूरी है. I agree, and that's why I'm glad that there are people like you that are out there creating content, because the more content creators there are, the better it is for the quote unquote non-left. And so I'm happy that people like you are getting into dedicated podcasting, and there's every year I feel like more and more people are coming into like content creation. They're making reels, they're making videos, and they're making very interesting videos, interesting formats and stuff like that. And that's what
and
we're trying to do on our end as well
and
on the
not
show
just,
is, go ahead.
I feel not just commentators, even YouTubers. There is a YouTuber, I don't know if you know, Elvish Yadav. Massive following, Samrat,
Yeah.
all these guys. इन लोगों ने अपने व्लॉग्स में ही बहुत अच्छी तरीके से चीजें बोलनी शुरू कर दी है।
Yeah.
इवन दो दे नॉट पॉलिटिकली कमेंटेटिंग, बट एटलीस्ट उनका मैसेज मिलियंस ऑफ लोगों तक तो पहुंच रहा है, 10-10 मिलियन जिनके फॉलोअर्स है। तो वो
Yeah,
भी
definitely.
चीज है।
नहीं, है. एंड आई थिंक जितना कंटेंट आता रहेगा उतना अच्छा है, जितना अलग अलग तरह का कंटेंट आता रहेगा उतना अच्छा है. वही चीज हम लोग भी करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. We're trying to come up, we're working on a new format idea, which it would the goal for our show is to not necessarily be the most popular show on the internet. Agar ho jayega, I have no problem with that. I'm not going to say no to popularity, but what we're trying to do is be the best, be the most authoritative voice on a particular topic on YouTube. That if you're looking to find out about what is going on with a particular topic, by the end of 2023, I would think that people would like to approach the Sham Sharma Show and find out, okay, what is this person saying when it comes to what is the Hindutva opinion on a particular video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So
example,
that's what we're trying to
CA,
get to go.
yeah, something like CA, which
Yeah.
I saw your video कि अभी तक क्यों इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हुआ। और मैंने अपने पॉडकास्ट पे भी इसके बारे में बात करी थी कि यार इम्प्लीमेंट अलग बात है, पहले जो पब्लिक परसेप्शन है ना, लोगों को वो समझाना जरूरी है पहले तो,
Yeah.
कि भाई मुसलमानों के पास 36 देश है, हिंदुओं के पास नहीं है,
Yeah.
कहाँ जाएंगे वो? सिखों के पास नहीं है, शायद कहाँ जाएंगे वो? यहीं आएंगे ना वापस। वो ऐसे ऐसे छोटे छोटे पॉइंट्स है। तो आई गेट व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, दैट सर्टेन टॉपिक्स आल्सो यू गोइंग टू स्टार्ट
Yeah,
making
and
videos on.
it's also important to remember that there is going to be a section of people that you're never going to be able to convince, no matter how well you present a particular argument. वो
Yeah, it's
मानेंगे
like
नहीं कि
banging your
चाहे
head on a
कुछ भी हो
wall.
जाए. Yeah.
हाँ।
So the best you can do is present argument in the best way possible, and then leave it up to people to make their minds up. And I think a lot of people have already. The protests जो CA के हुए भी थे, if you remember, most of the protests were centered around tier 1 cities. Most of them. I would say 80 to 90% of them were centered around tier 1 cities. आपने देखा कि जबलपुर में तो नहीं हो रहा था, कानपुर में तो नहीं हो रहा है CA पे प्रोटेस्ट, क्योंकि उनको टेंशन नहीं है. And those people are a lot more connected civilizationally than we give them credit for.
Definitely.
आप देखो कि जो राम मंदिर मूवमेंट है, and the best example of that is the Ram Mandir movement. Ram Mandir movement is the progenitor of the new wave of Hindutva in India. That gave birth to it.
For sure.
And Ram Mandir movement, अगर आप देखो, तो Ram Mandir movement, who has been carrying the Ram Mandir movement on their backs? Is it the tier 1 city people? No. छोटे छोटे शहर के लोग हैं, OBCs, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, middle class, Brahman, सारे के सारे मिलके चला रहे हैं. Like that is the dream of Hindutva, basically realized into a movement. Every single caste, forget working only for building the Ram Mandir.
Yes.
That is the beauty of Hindutva, and that is what the Ram Mandir movement has been able to achieve, and it is being carried out on their shoulders by these tier 2, tier 3 people who are a lot more connected civilizationally, and that is who the BJP has been targeting.
Yes, exactly.
And I think they've been doing that very well. So I think things are on a positive trajectory, and it's important to make sure you keep going that way.
You get comments on your videos of being a patriarchal Brahmin?
Oh, all the time. all the time, yeah. And I lean into it now.
Yeah. I mean, you take it in a
Feel,
very
what is
good
the
way.
point?
I've seen. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
basically lean into it. What's the point? Like I'm born into a Brahmin family. I can't do anything about it, so I just live with it. Ab usse, if that makes me a patriarchal, then it makes me patriarchal. Everybody and their mother knows my views on caste, and if you know that and you still think I'm a patriarchal Brahmin, have at it, man. I'll just lean into it.
You know, one very, very intelligent thing that I heard in one of your videos in regards to the Pathaan controversy, which I completely agree with, was कि इतना भी एक्सट्रीम नहीं जाना चाहिए कि एक बंदा है, शाहरुख खान है या सलमान खान है, अब भाई वो हमारे सारे फेस्टिवल्स, मतलब जो इंडिया के फेस्टिवल्स है वो भी सारे मनाते हैं, वो अपनी इंडियन आइडेंटिटी सुप्रीम भी रखते हैं, वो सब चीजें करते हैं, वो सारे सब कुछ करते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी आपको बैश करना है क्योंकि एक बॉलीवुड से है, दूसरे वो मुसलमान है, वो चीज पे जाके कहीं ना कहीं गड़बड़ हो जाती है.
Yeah,
So
I
that-
agree. क्योंकि देखिए यार, जो sort of हिंदुत्व मूवमेंट से कनेक्टेड हैं या मेंटली कनेक्टेड हैं, पॉलिटिकली कनेक्टेड हैं या फिर बस पसंद करते हैं, सपोर्ट करते हैं, all of those people, what do they want? They want कि the Indian Muslims recognize that their ancestors were Hindus, that Indian Muslims recognize that religiously they may be Muslims, but culturally and civilizationally they belong to the Hindu civilization.
Exactly.
And if there are Muslims out there, and it is important to remember the kind of societal pressure that exists on Muslims
Yeah.
to not associate with Hindu culture in any, because there is not a bigger crime in Islam than shirk.
Shirk,
If you are
yes.
doing shirk, you will go to hell and burn forever, no doubt about that. So, knowing that societal pressure, knowing that religious pressure that exists on Muslims every single day, कि आप हिंदू कल्चर से बिल्कुल एसोसिएट नहीं कर सकते, उसके बावजूद भी अगर देर आर मुस्लिम्स इन द कंट्री जो हमारे सारे त्योहार मनाने को तैयार हैं, गणपति मनाने को तैयार हैं, पूजा करने को तैयार हैं. शाहरुख खान इज अ वेरी पावरफुल एक्टर. अगर उसका बस चलता तो अपने बच्चे को मुस्लिम बना देता और बोलता कि नहीं तू साले गणेश वणेश कुछ नहीं करेगा, तू चुपचाप बैठ के यहाँ कलमा पढ़. बट he has given his kids the choice कि आप गणपति भी मनाएंगे, हम दिवाली भी मनाएंगे, हम सब चीज मनाएंगे, और हमारे बच्चे ईद भी मनाएंगे और होली भी मनाएंगे, दोनों काम करेंगे.
बिल्कुल.
तो यार इससे ज्यादा क्या कर सकता है बेचारा?
ये
कन्वर्ट किए बिना तो इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं कर सकता ना वो. That's the last option available to him कि वापस धर्म परिवर्तन कर ले, but
उसने अपनी
that's the best he can do.
उसने अपनी इंडियन आइडेंटिटी सुप्रीम रखी है ना बिफोर हिज
हाँ.
रिलीजन.
अब आई अंडरस्टैंड कि पठान करता है, बहुत लोग ये भी करते हैं मैं राजपूत हूं, तो वो गलत थोड़ी है. अब वो अगर पठान करना चाहता है करने दो यार उसको, बट एट द सेम टाइम वो देश से गद्दारी नहीं कर रहा. वो हिंदुओं को गाली नहीं देता जबरदस्ती. अब थोड़ा पॉलिटिक्स सब लोग खेलते हैं. एवरीबडी हैज देयर पॉलिटिकल कन्विक्शंस, एंड if Shahrukh Khan likes the Congress party, that's fine. He's allowed to like the Congress party.
Of course, we are a
If he wants to
democracy
vote
and
for Congress, that's fine. He's allowed to vote for Congress.
Yeah.
But I think we should try to give a little bit more leeway to Muslims that are willing to put their necks on the line,
Yes.
that are willing to accept Hindu own culture.
Yeah.
आप देखो सोहा अली खान जैसी एक्ट्रेसेस हैं जो गणपति मनाती हैं, मंदिर अंदर जाती हैं, कितनी गालियां पड़ती है उसको इंस्टाग्राम पे, कितनी गालियां पड़ती है मुस्लिम से उसको इंस्टाग्राम पे, फिर भी वो जाती है ना यार. तो ऐसे लोगों को तो एक्स्ट्रा सपोर्ट देना चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से.
बिल्कुल. I 100%
इसका ये मतलब नहीं है, आई जस्ट वांट टू क्लैरिफाई, इसका ये नहीं, दे आर राइट अबाउट एवरीथिंग एंड प्लीज स्टॉप क्रिटिसाइजिंग शाहरुख खान, एंड इफ यू हैव टू वॉच हिज मूवीज, दैट्स नॉट व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. अगर आपको पठान नहीं देखनी मत देखो, नो प्रॉब्लम. बट ये पर्सपेक्टिव भी थोड़ा रखना चाहिए कि what they're doing is extremely difficult for them to do because there's a lot of societal pressure on them. And their religion strictly prohibits them from doing this, but they're still doing it.
Yeah, and that's the kind of Islam we want in India. If Islam
We want
has to
Indian
be
Islam.
India, it has to
Indian
be-
Islam needs to be different from Middle Eastern Islam and Pakistani Islam. Yeah. It has to be different. It has to get a little more paganized.
You spoke about Congress, so I want to ask you about your favorite politician. You think you think Rahul Gandhi will ever become the Prime Minister of this country?
I think Rahul Gandhi may or may not become the Prime Minister, but I think he's already the greatest philosopher that has ever existed. It used to be Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya. These guys used to be in the top three. Gautam Buddha and people like that. But Gautam Buddha, all these people are a distant second. Now Rahul Gandhi is number
Rahul
one.
Gandhi. It's
Yeah,
Rahul
I think 50 years from now, when we write new textbooks and things like that, and when we talk about like colleges में जब Indian philosophy पढ़ाई जाएगी, you're not going to teach Ramanujacharya, you're not going to teach Patanjali, you're going to teach Rahul Gandhi. It's as simple as that. You're going to teach how to kill yourself, but also exist at the same time. Yeah.
I think that guy is literally the biggest troll politician there has ever been. मतलब इससे
Yeah.
बड़ा आज तक ट्रोल नहीं होगा, लेकिन फिर भी जो उस बंदे का कॉन्फिडेंस है, मैं दाद देता हूँ उस बंदे की। मतलब अभी भारत जोड़ो यात्रा पे, मतलब वो जिस जगह से निकलता है वहां का बाईपोल कांग्रेस हार जाती है। और इससे अच्छी यात्रा कोई क्या कर सकता है बताओ?
क्या कर
बिगेस्ट
सकता है?
ब्लेसिंग फॉर बीजेपी, biggest blessing
Yeah.
for BJP. And now
It's
starting to
I spoke about it on the podcast where I said that it's almost like the BJP paid crores and crores of rupees to a bunch of scientists to create Rahul Gandhi in a lab, create a robot, AI develop करो जो कि हमको इलेक्शन जितवा दे बस, develop an AI that जो भी बोले उसका उल्टा सच हो जाए. And that is what they basically, it's almost like they created Rahul Gandhi as an AI in the lab to help them win elections.
और उसको ये लगता है कि वो अपने कुत्ते के साथ खेलते हुए, if he'll put a video, he will beat Modi with that. मतलब
Yeah.
what kind of a world is he living in? Oh? And
Exactly. And
imagine the kind of yes man that you would have to have around to be at that stage and do all this.
yeah, and Abhijit on the podcast that we did on Thursday made a very good point where he said कि when he was talking about, he made some statement about कि आप, some journalist asked him कि सर आप ये भारत जोड़ो के बाद क्या करने वाले हो? What is your plan? तो he said अरे जब अर्जुन ने मछली की आंख में तीर मारने जा रहे थे तो क्या उन्होंने बताया सबको कि मैं इसके बाद क्या करूंगा? नहीं बताया, मैं भी नहीं बताऊंगा, क्योंकि हम लोग ये नहीं करते, हमारा फोकस सिर्फ मछली की आंख पर है. एंड ही फॉरगॉट दैट द रीजन अर्जुन वाज इवन पॉइंटिंग एट द आंख, एट द आई, वाज शूटिंग एट द आई, वाज टू गेट मैरिड. वो शादी करने के लिए, वो स्वयंवर में गए हुए थे, वो शादी करने के लिए मछली की आंख में मारने जा रहे थे. तो ही हैड अ वेरी क्लियर पर्पस कि उसकी कि मछली की आंख में तीर मारने के बाद वो क्या करने वाले हैं. तो राहुल गांधी एंड हिज एडवाइजर्स डोंट इवन नो द स्टोरी, उनको कहानी भी नहीं पता है, बट एट द सेम टाइम उसको भेज देते स्टेज पे कि सर जाइए बकचोदी कीजिए.
और बकचोदी भी किस हद की, मतलब
Yeah.
मैं हुई नहीं,
मैं नहीं हूं, मैंने मार दिया उसको.
मार दिया मतलब यार.
राहुल गांधी आपके दिमाग में, मेरे दिमाग में है ही नहीं, मैंने मार दिया उसको. जो आप देख रहे हो वो राहुल गांधी है ही नहीं, ये कोई और इंसान है. वाह,
कौन से लेवल के नशे करता है वो बंदा भगवान जाने. मतलब इमेजिन ब्रो द काइंड ऑफ प्लेटफॉर्म दैट ही हैज. आपकी भारत जोड़ो यात्रा चल रही है, एक तरफ नरेंद्र मोदी दिवाली, न्यू ईयर्स, ये जितने फेस्टिवल्स है ये आर्मी के साथ मनाने जाते हैं. और हमारे राहुल गांधी को लगा कि भारत जोड़ो यात्रा ज्यादा होगी, हफ्ते की छुट्टी कराते हैं.
छुट्टी कराते
अरे
हैं.
आप किस प्लेटफॉर्म पे हो यार? आप कम से कम ये तो देखो, आपको परोसा गया है, ये कुछ कर लो उसके साथ.
नहीं, और घूम भी किसके साथ रहा है? तो स्वरा भास्कर के साथ घूम रहा है.
बताओ.
ऑडियंस भी, अब वहां की मान लो कोई छोटे शहर में आप स्वरा भास्कर को लेके गए, सबसे पहले तो लोगों को पता नहीं कि वो कौन है, राइट?
कुणाल कामरा के साथ
कुणाल कामरा, पीपल डोंट नो हु ही इज, एंड देन लोग उसको राहुल गांधी के साथ देखेंगे, एंड देन दे विल गो एंड सर्च कि है कौन स्वरा भास्कर. देन दे विल फाइंड आउट अबाउट द डम ओपिनियंस ऑफ स्वरा भास्कर, एंड दे विल थिंक कि ये राहुल गांधी इस बेवकूफ लोगों के साथ क्यों घूम रहा है.
एग्जैक्टली. क्या बंदा है यार. मतलब आई यूज्ड टू वर्क आउट विद राहुल गांधी.
अच्छा, रियली?
यहाँ पे एक जिम है मात्रा अशोका में, अब बंद हो गया.
अच्छा.
2 साल हो गए उसको बंद हुए. लॉकडाउन से पहले उसके साथ वर्कआउट करता था. मतलब टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट विद यू ना, बंदा बुरा नहीं है यार, बड़ा शांत शरीफ सा बंदा है वो. ऐसा नहीं लगता कि कोई कनिंग टाइप होगा, कुछ कर सकता है. वो गलत फील्ड में घुस गया.
एग्जैक्टली.
जाके अपने मम्मा पापा के पैसे का लुफ्त उठाना चाहिए था, कुछ उसके बस.
Yeah, exactly. You should have just been like a philanthropist. ये क्या रिचर्ड ब्रांसन की तरह प्लेन पे घूमता रहता है इधर उधर लड़कियों के साथ, वही ठीक था. हाँ, लाइफ एंजॉय करता है यार. बट क्या करें, मेगलोमेनिया इज अ पावरफुल ड्रग.
यस. एक I want to know your opinion in the US. You've been living in the US since 2016 now, right? So six,
Yeah.
7 years almost. So has the perception of Indians, uh, Goras towards Indians or brown people changed since Modi has come into power? And if changed, then what kind of a change have you seen?
So I think the average American doesn't really think about that as much. Their perception of Indians has not really changed significantly. What has changed is their perception of Indians, let's say in America itself, because the perception, at least in the last 20 years, about Indians has been of a people that come to the country and work hard.
Yeah.
That's all. That's been the perception for the last 20 years. ये यहाँ आते हैं, यहाँ मेहनत करते हैं. They make their money. They're law-abiding, tax-paying. They may not like Indians. कि अरे different religion, different culture. They speak English in a weird accent and all of that. But other than like that, sort of basic prejudice always exists. That's not going anywhere. But other than that, the general opinion about Indians, I would say, is quite favorable compared to a lot of other immigrant groups.
Okay. No, but has there been a change? Like I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Basically, when we travel abroad now versus when we traveled abroad maybe 5 years back,
Yeah.
it's like you know, I honestly when if I'm in America, I feel a little superiority now toward that. You know, I feel I am more superior. That shouldn't be a feeling, but I'm just saying कि मुझे एक तो अमेरिका का डाउनफॉल दिखता है आंखों के सामने. मतलब
Yeah.
आप जो just imagine, bro, you have Joe Biden as the president of
Yeah.
United States of America. That guy is talking to people who are not even there, shaking hands with people who are not even there.
Yeah.
You know, the way.
Well, it was like they saw Trump and then America was like, okay, now we made अब तो हमने Trump को भी president बना दिया. How can we top this? So then decided we'll just make a corpse. हम एक मुर्दे को president बना देंगे.
Trump was not topping. Biden is topping.
मुर्दे को president बना देंगे. Yeah.
और आज मैंने अपने इंस्टाग्राम पे भी डाला था कि मीडिया लेफ्ट, यूएस में भी बहुत लेफ्ट मीडिया पावरफुल है.
Yeah.
मतलब कितनी शर्म की बात है यार कि जो बाइडन की एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी है लेफ्ट मीडिया में जस्ट बिकॉज ट्रम्प के व्यूज ऐसे हैं.
Yeah.
ये कितनी, इफ यू सी जो बाइडन्स वीडियोस विद दोज लिटिल गर्ल्स, आई फील क्रिंज्ड आउट एंड अनकंफर्टेबल.
Yeah.
But you know, the left media doesn't talk about it.
Yeah,
Coming back.
that I think to your first point, you know, the feeling that a lot of Indians have in the West is definitely down to how India has been doing over the last few years. I think economically they've been doing better. Politically, they're a lot more stable. I think culturally they're becoming a lot more aware and comfortable in their own skin, because for a lot of decades you had a group of people that formed a country, lived within a geographical entity, but they were never really comfortable in their own skin because they'd been told that who they were a horrible, horrible thing.
Yes.
So now they're feeling a lot more comfortable in their skin. So once you're comfortable in your skin, you immediately feel a lot more confident. Like let's say, if you haven't worked out in 6 or 7 months and you've gotten a little chubby and you don't have any stamina and you don't like the way you look in the mirror, you're not going to feel confident.
Yeah.
But if you like the way you look in the mirror, you've got big muscles, you've been working out, you got great stamina, you can run for days, suddenly you feel a lot more confident about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening to Indians. By understanding who they are, by realizing their true history, by realizing, you know, that their history is not of conquest. Their history is of brave resistance to ideologies and cultures that have actually obliterated and genocided entire civilizations.
Yeah,
उसके खिलाफ इंडिया का खड़े होने का there's a very glorious history. And Modi made a very good speech about when he was talking about Lachit Borphukan, the Assamese freedom fighter, where he said कि our history is of great fucking heroes, man.
Yeah,
I mean, every corner and inch of India is seeded with great heroes that have fought against oppression and that have fought against these invaders. That is our history. So once people start realizing that, they get a lot more confident in who they are. And that's, I think, what you're seeing more is confidence within Indians and confidence within the diaspora.
Yeah. I also did a podcast that you're talking about heroes. I share the link also with you. Do watch it if you have time. Basically, it's on a book which is 1,000 Year History of Mewar.
Oh,
So,
that's right.
so like, people like Bappa Rawal and Maharaja Lakshya Singh, we were never taught about these people in school. We were taught about the Mughal Empire. But the history or that we actually have of our warriors, when you go and read about that, मतलब आपका दिमाग अलग ही खुल जाता है
Yeah.
कि इस चीज के बारे में मुझे नहीं पता यार, मतलब रावलपिंडी बप्पा रावल के नाम पर है, ये चीजें कभी हमें बताई ही नहीं गई.
Yep.
That's true. And also, have you ever faced this? I'm very intrigued because India में बहुत ज़्यादा आ गया है. I'm going to finish off after this.
Yeah.
they, he, she, they, them, she, he वाला जो पूरा सीन आ गया है,
Yeah.
ये इंडिया में भी बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया है. मैं तो बहुत मजाक उड़ाता हूँ. देखो, on the face of it, I feel you can be gay, you can be lesbian, you can be, whatever, straight. But
Yeah.
this pronoun thing, fucking, I identify as Vaseline from tomorrow. I can identify as anything.
Yeah.
In US, do you see कि बहुत वहाँ पे already
Well, it has started here. शुरू यहीं से हुआ है. I mean, the American universities has created this poison, and then slowly spread throughout the American politics, American society, and then it spread beyond the US borders as well. So it has been created in the United States universities. And see, my principal belief is, yeah, look, if you feel more comfortable, if you're a man, you feel like you were born you're a woman trapped in a man's body, you want to transition, and you want she, I will respect it. I will respect you because I like to offer basic respect to people. I will respect you and I'll call you she if you want, if that's fine. But if, let's say, if you, इसको dead naming बोलते हैं ना, या misgendering बोलते हैं in America. Like if you accidentally call someone a he or a she when they identify as a she or a he, and then you imagine that person is trying to like oppress you, or they're a transphobe or a homophobe, वो थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो गया यार. Look, गलती लोगों से हो जाती है. People will try to be polite with you, but don't assume malice where none exists. ठीक है?
brother, उससे भी ज्यादा क्या दिक्कत है, मैं कहता हूँ जो सबसे बड़ा इसमें इशू है ना, वो ये कि ये जो स्पोर्ट्स में एंटर कर गया ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, नाउ आई एम अ गाय, आई गॉट माई ऑपरेशन और व्हाटएवर डन, एंड नाउ आई एम अ वुमन. बट मेरे जो जेनेटिक्स है, दे आर ऑफ अ मैन. नाउ इफ आई गो एंड स्टार्ट doing swimming, for example, in the female category, because now I'm a woman, I am going to win all competitions and break all records.
Yeah.
How is that fair to women?
Yeah. Well, there used to be that infamous case in mixed martial arts, right, of that fighter called Fallon
Yes,
Fox.
yes.
I think.
I don't remember the name, but
I don't know if I'm mistaken, but I think that was the name. Who joined the UFC? He was a man for 30 years and then transitioned and became a woman, and then went into the UFC, started fighting in the women's division, and was just beating the shit out of these defense women, but he obviously wasn't a very good fighter. So eventually he got beat up by other women as well, who were a lot better fighters than him. But the point is that he had such a speed and strength advantage over a lot of other female fighters that he immediately, he would have ranked nowhere in men's fighting, but in women's fighting, he immediately went into the top 10. She immediately went into the top 10. And so that's the problem. Like, abhi New Zealand se khabar aayi thi ki a person who used to identify as a man became a woman and basically broke like 100-year-old women's weightlifting record.
Oh.
And has been breaking all the records, winning every single competition since then. So yeah, it's unfair to the women as well. Even they're like, yaar, ye kya bakwas chal raha hai? So even a lot of like women athletes are pissed off ki yaar, is this a joke? How are we supposed to compete?
Chalo, lovely. It was a nice talk, bro.
Yeah, same here, man. Good to speak to you.
Talk. Nice, always nice talking to like-minded people. And I love your content. And I just want to tell you, I've been raving about this since the last 3 days that, I'm finally getting to do it with Sham, because I really have. I watch all your videos, man. All
I
of them. Like
appreciate
I
that,
share
man.
them,
Thank you.
everything because I love it. So it's like a very big thing for me to be doing this with you right now.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to speak to you today.